Mikrokosmos 26, a piece called Repetition, is another piece that's going to make use of a lot of counterpoint. We're going to see a lot of things in number 26 that we've seen before. We're going to see a lot of hand independence. We're going to see a lot of imitation. And there are a couple of things, though, that are going to be especially challenging about this piece, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But first, I want to just take a look at the music, because Bartók is going to give us yet another interesting musical challenge. And what we're going to see in number 26 is imitation between the right hand and the left hand, but a very special kind of imitation that's known as a canon. And a canon is when we have some kind of exact imitation between two voices that continues on for some length of time. And let's actually take a look at this measure by measure. So we start out in the first measure with these three notes in the right hand. The right hand has D, E, F. The left hand doesn't do anything in the first measure, but then in the second measure, the left hand comes in with this melody. Starting on A, which is really just the same melody, but down a fourth, where this melody begins on D, this melody begins on A. But what we're going to find is that the melody in the right hand is imitated exactly in the left hand, but just one measure behind and the interval of a fourth below. So where the first six measures of the right hand go like this, the first six measures of the left hand sound like this. An exact imitation, or a canon, at the interval of a fourth below. We sometimes call that the canon at a fourth. And that imitation, that canon, actually continues on until the third and fourth measures of the second line. So the last time this canon is actually happening is between the third measure of the right hand that then gets imitated by the fourth measure of the left hand. But everything else that we're going to hear in those first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 measures is a strict canon between the left hand and the right hand and the left hand. You can hear that incredible independence between these two lines. And in fact, one of the things that happens is as you start getting more familiar with the piece, as you start getting comfortable with it, you may have this moment of vertigo when you start playing and you start feeling comfortable with the independence, where you're hearing one line and you're hearing the other line, and you're like, oh my God, all this music is coming out of just me. I sound like two different people playing at the same time. It's a really cool experience, and I hope you get to experience at least a little bit of that as we go. So technically, there aren't a lot of new challenges that you're going to encounter in this piece. The right hand by itself is pretty straightforward. It's got one hand position, all the motion is stepwise. The left hand by itself is pretty straightforward. There's one hand position and all the motion is stepwise. The most difficult thing is going to be putting these two hands together. We sort of have a template for how to do that, or approach for how to do that. The two additional challenges, though, that we're going to be adding in this are, number one, we're adding a key signature of two sharps. The key signature usually associated with D major. So we have to worry about getting those sharps under our fingers. Although, if you take a look at the hand positions, those sharps are going to be in pretty easy places. They're going to be on the third finger in the right hand, and also on the third finger. The C sharp will be on the third finger on the left hand. So that won't be too difficult. Then the only other thing we have to worry about is the tempo. Our tempo is quarter note equals 128. Which isn't super fast, but it's pretty brisk for a piece that is this contrapuntal, that has this much counterpoint in it. So keeping those lines straight at that tempo is going to be the big challenge. So this is going to be a challenging piece, but I think it's a challenge you will be ready for, and I think it's a challenge that once you get through it, I think it's going to be a really rewarding and fun piece to play. So I'm looking forward to hearing everybody play this.